When I opened up the final chapter, chapter 180 of Assassination Classroom, and the first thing I see when I start the chapter is a color page with Koro-sensei giving me a diploma saying I have graduated from Assassination Classroom, I got sad. I got really sad because that concretes that the series is done. This is the finale. And it took me a moment to really realize this, but this is the final chapter. This is the final time I'll talk about the manga of Assassination Classroom. I haven't been with this series since the very, very beginning, but I know there's many of you Chibits that have, but I have been with this series for at the very least over a year now. And seeing it finally come to an end, it's sad, but at the same time, I'm happy. I've said this a couple of times in the previous chapters. The one thing I look forward to the most, or I think back on when I finish the series, is an ending. And I was very worried. I'm not even gonna lie. I was very worried when I walked into this chapter. I was gonna see Koro-sensei alive. I'm not even going to hide that. I thought I was gonna open this chapter up, and then Koro-sensei was gonna magically appear again. And I honestly, I would have been upset. But seeing how the mangaka, Yusei-sensei, continued to stick with what he set out to do since the first chapter, kill Koro-sensei, and then Koro-sensei died, and then we have this ending. It's beautiful. It's a very, very beautiful, beautiful conclusion, because it's like Nagisa carries on the legacy of Koro-sensei. Nagisa pretty much became Koro-sensei. With the end of this chapter, with what Nagisa did, with how he's teaching a classroom full of delinquents, he became Koro-sensei. That's exactly what Nagisa is. And he is carrying on that legacy of Koro-sensei to teach. And it definitely makes it a whole lot more meaningful when you know that Koro-sensei is dead and he passed on this knowledge to the next generation. And Assassination Classroom has always been about, you know, like a coming-of-age story, or, you know, learning life lessons so you can get prepared for when you become an adult. And I feel like the way this was done, especially with these last few chapters, probably some of the best chapters I've seen of Assassination Classroom, just the way it was executed. I mean, all this build-up that we've had from arc to arc, with these characters building up, growing, and learning from what they have done, to this very moment with how they execute these different things they've learned from Koro-sensei into the real-life things, or daily things they do, it makes you just smile. You're like, holy shit. It's like we've watched these characters literally grow up. We've seen them grow up from point A to point B and become what they are. And there's not many series, thinking about it, in recent times I have seen that get a proper conclusion like this. That kind of, it doesn't give you everything. There is one thing that I wish could have been done better, but I will get into that. But when it comes to the main central plot points of the series, everything was pretty much answered, and I'm satisfied. I can honestly say I'm satisfied with the conclusion of Assassination Classroom, and when I think back on this series, I'm gonna look back and think, this was a fucking awesome series. I'm glad I started this. I'm glad I let all of you talk me into starting this series, watch the anime, and then read the manga. I am glad so many of you talked me into this, because now, when I think back on the series, I will recommend it to others, to learn a very good coming-of-age story, to let them read this, and see the greatness of Assassination Classroom. You know, many are probably going to have conflicting thoughts about this ending, because some might be talking about one of the main central things that happened in this chapter that wasn't really answered, and it's something I feel like was left up to speculation. Maybe the mangaka didn't intend it to be like that. We might have to wait until the anime comes out before we actually get our answer to this question we have, and that question is Kayano and Nagisa together? Did they actually pair up? Did they, you know, get together and have a child? Because it is implied in this chapter that the next generation is coming. For instance, Nagisa's having a kid on the way. And so, if this does become true, that means that we also have our pairing answered. Which this is the only thing I felt was kind of left out when it come to Assassination Classroom. It mainly came down to the romantic pairings. And honestly, Assassination Classroom, it has had its romance here and there. And it has had its great moments of pairing up characters, especially with Valentine's Day and stuff. And I feel like that concretes enough who these characters are going to get with. But I know there's many that are probably watching this, or probably read this, final chapter and thinking, like, who's going to be with who? Who's getting with who? They're probably very upset because they didn't get the question they wanted, which I feel like shouldn't be something we should really be mad about. Because, I mean, the main point of Assassination Classroom has always been the coming of age of our characters and how they will carry on Koro Sensei's legacy. So, my final thoughts on the series, I would definitely recommend this, and I would definitely start it again if I know what I know now. It was a good ride. I'm glad the mangaka Yusei-sensei could write the story he wanted, and didn't get rushed, didn't have to be forced to prolong the series to kind of butcher what his main vision was for the series, because I know there's many mangaka out there that probably have wrote a series. I mean, I can think of some, like Beelzebub, or let's look at some things that probably happened with Nisekoi, to, Hitman Reborn, and then, I mean, there's a bunch of other series out there that have kind of been messed up, like, let's say Cage of Eden, or Siren. There's a lot of mangaka that have been forced to either rush their ending, it's been butchered, it's been changed, or it doesn't have that proper ending that the mangaka set out to kind of get, because either the series was, I guess, prolonged too long thanks to, Shonen Jump or other magazines forcing them to extend the series, or, Shonen Jump just didn't want them to end the series when they wanted to, which caused a lot of issues, and the mangaka couldn't do what they wanted. And I'm glad that Yusei-sensei got to do what he wanted with his series. He wasn't forced to draw this out up to 300 to 400 chapters. He ended it where he wanted. 180 chapters is a perfect way to end the series. I don't feel like it was too long and too short. It was just the perfect right amount of chapters just to tell a very good story. And it goes to show, maybe nowadays we don't need series that go up to thousands of chapters to really be a good story. Maybe these short stories that tell a very good life lesson are stuff that we should look forward to now. Maybe Shonen Jump can learn a thing from Yusei-sensei and allow their creators to do what they want to do without being forced to not do or do something else that they never envisioned with their series. So yeah, my final thoughts. Wonderful. I definitely gonna miss the series. Of course, I want to continue reviewing the anime. I'm gonna probably get very emotional when I watch that anime episode of Assassination Classroom, because I'm not ready. Because, I mean, now knowing I know what the ending of it, the opening song has so much more weight to it. So, yeah. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.